Hi to all of you out there. I am so excited to start this little YouTube channel, I guess, if you will. I've had this on my mind for a little while now and been going back and forth on whether to do this. And I just have come to the conclusion that I figure why not? There are a lot of channels out there, so welcome to my world and my little corner of YouTube, if you will. I'm not really sure exactly where this is going to go as of right now. I don't have official plans for it to be a QuiltTube or a FlossTube, one way or the other. But I just thought it would be fun to have a little channel here where we can talk about some updates and maybe build a little community together, if you will. Talking a little bit about the things I'm working on, and I would love to hear from you in return. To kind of see what you're doing, what some of your interests are, and what some things you're working on, maybe alongside things that way. So I wanted to take this first video as an opportunity to introduce myself a little bit more. Some of you may know me, and some of you may have just stumbled upon this video across YouTube, and that's wonderful as well. So welcome and hello to you. My name's Larissa, and my channel is known as the Coppered Clove. I have a crafting DIY heart that I've always had that there, and I always just have this desire to make and create, and it's taken me in a couple of different avenues throughout life. And as of late, I've really been honing down on quilting, and I have found a little corner of my interest in the cross stitch world that I've really loved as well. So I thought it would be fun to build a little bit of a community this way and take the opportunity to use this channel to show you some of the things that I'm working on, as well as hoping to get a little bit of collaboration and some comments from you in return. So I'd love to just kick this off and maybe hear from you. Post in the comments here of what's your name and where are you from. I know that's a little bit kind of scary and iffy sometimes out there on the internet, so if you want to post a nickname or just your first name, that's just great too. But I would just love to hear where some of you are from and where you're joining that way. My name's Larissa, as I mentioned, and I'm from Utah, a little small town in the south central part of the state, born and bred, if you will. And I've been here my entire life. I am a small town girl at heart, and I'm afraid I'm always going to be here, which I should say I'm not afraid. I actually love it, and I have absolutely no desire to leave. So my husband and I have settled in our little area here, and we are just loving the life that we've built and trying to keep up with life. So we have a few kids that keep us busy, and we do use our hobbies as just that, hobbies. They're little side things for us, and just ways to kind of escape real life, if you will. I do have a full-time job right now that keeps me very busy and on my toes. So as of right now, I'm hoping to get this channel updated here on YouTube at least once a month, possibly every other week. It will just kind of depend on what life allows, between work and my kids at the same time, and keeping up with my husband and everything that we do here. So, but yeah, as I mentioned, my name's Larissa, and it gets mispronounced a lot. So if you happen to see my name on my social media channels or something, I respond to Larissa too, but really Larissa. I used to always kind of give my mom a hard time because she was a school teacher, and I said, is there a different way you could have spelled that to make that a little bit more match the English language? And I like to give her a hard time because she tends to not like when we tease her about things like that. But my husband and I have been married for 20 years now. We're actually celebrating our anniversary in July here, and life has taken us in lots of different directions, as I'm sure it has all of you. And right now we are just loving the stage that we're in, but also doing our best to keep up. Every day it seems like there's something new, and the end of the day comes when we look at each other and think, where did that come from, and where did that take us? And here we go and gear up for tomorrow, right? But that's where our hobbies come in, and why I thought it was so important to start some time to intentionally set aside time for my hobbies and my interests that way. So that's a little bit of where this channel is going to come into play. And as I get some things I'd like to share and chat with you, I have a few notes here. So pardon me as I get used to this YouTube thing. But I I got my start in quilting, if you will, when it comes to DIY kind of stuff. And I feel like that kind of runs deep in my blood and through my genes. Quilting goes back on generations in my family, on both my mother's side and my father's side. And for many, many years, as far as back as I know, and we've had family history of, there's quilting that comes into play with it at some point. And it was about 14 years ago, I just got this bug that I decided I wanted to try to make a quilt, and I never had made one before. I don't know where it came from and why, but I just remember sitting in our then home and thinking, I'm gonna make a quilt. I don't know exactly what I want to do, but I want to make a quilt. And as I thought about it, a little bit more and more, it settled in that I wanted to make one for my daughter, who was then barely a year or two old. And I lived just a couple of blocks away from our local quilt shop, and one day just decided to load my kids up and go for a walk. So I stuck the kids in the stroller and went for a walk for a couple of blocks, and I walked into the quilt shop, and a couple of the ladies there knew me and knew of me because of my grandmothers and my mom. But I hadn't really built relationships with any of them, let alone that they really knew me, myself. So I kind of wandered around a little bit and kind of poked and prodded at some fabrics and thumbed through a few pattern books, and I wasn't sure if anything was super jumping out at me, but I was really drawn to one particular color scheme and felt like that's kind of the direction I wanted to go. And because I was wanting to make that quilt for my daughter, it happened to be the same color scheme that we had done in her bedroom and kind of painted and decorated things up. So I thought this would be the perfect opportunity. Match her quilt, we'll make her a quilt for her big girl bed that she would start growing into and get all of that going. Again, I had some pretty solid sewing skills, but I'd never really done any quilting, so I needed something that I could teach myself, and in true me fashion, I had high ambitions and decided to go with it. And I picked out a pattern that was I believe it was called a grandmother's flower garden pattern or some block or something, and just started picking out some fabrics that pattern seemed to be requiring. And I didn't know exactly where that was going to take me and how it was going to look in the end, because in my mind I was dreaming it all up and I was just crossing my fingers and hoping it would turn out the way I was thinking. I remember walking up to the cutting table there in the quilt shop, and the owner was working that day, and she looked at me and she said, "What are you making here?" And I told her and what my thoughts were and what my plans were, and she just kind of nodded her head and she said, "Okay, we can make this work, but you just let me know if you have some questions." And I was like, I got it, we're good. And I went home with my haul for the day, and I remember looking at that fabric and reading the pattern and rereading the pattern and hesitating to even make that first cut on the fabric, because all of a sudden it was real. And I thought, what if I cut this fabric wrong? What if I make an incorrect cut? Did I buy enough extra in case I need to? And what if I don't get this finished and I need to go back and get more fabric and that's already sold? And I started just getting in my head, and that started to overwhelm me a little bit. And I set the fabric aside. And it sat there for a few months. And then I started rethinking it again. And it sat there again for a few months. And I started gaining some courage and thinking, no, I'm just going to do it. We'll make this work. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but one day I just thought, we're just going to do it. Have some faith, have some guts, and let's do it. And I actually have a picture I'll try to put up with this video of my daughter that was at that age. And I remember looking over at her, and she had the cutting mat on the floor, and she took the fabric and she was spreading it all out. And I just thought, she's ready, I'm ready, we're going to do this. And so I just bit the bullet and started. And I will tell you what, that quilt kind of did me in. It didn't super overstress me because I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. And so I started just piecing and doing some things, and you will all laugh when you know the terms and hear all of what I'm going to share with you here. But in hindsight, I look back and think, what was I thinking? It was a quilt that was it was a center block, and then it had some borders, like little 1-inch squares of border around that block, and then it was set on point, and it was so cute. But when I look at that quilt, nothing really matched up very well. My seams didn't match. There were, in hindsight now, knowing I didn't always press to the right side, I wasn't doing things super great that way. I don't even remember if I was squaring as I was going, and so I'm sure that added to a lot of the problems, and heaven forbid, because my seams weren't matching, I'm sure a lot of it was that my seam allowances weren't correct, and it was all a learning experience. And I look back at that quilt, and she's outgrown it now, my daughter has, and she doesn't use it anymore, but we still have it. I have no plans to get rid of it any time in the near future. Maybe next video I'll do a show and tell on that one for you, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But I look at that quilt, and even though it is so imperfect and it has so many little flaws, I'm happy with it that I had the guts to get started and actually do it. And I'm proud of it, if you will. That sounds funny because it's so imperfect. But there's a few different parts of that quilt, and I'll save the rest of that story to the next video so you can watch that. But there's many other reasons that I'm proud of that quilt and why I plan to never get rid of that. One day when my daughter's ready for that, I will pass it down to her and maybe hope that she'll keep a hold of it, knowing the sentimental value it has behind it. But we learn as we go, and that's kind of where I wanted to base the start of these videos, is to help everybody here feel that you're welcome in this space, my corner of YouTube, as I like to call it here. But you're welcome in this space at any point, whether you are just starting with quilting, whether you've been here for a while. If you have some questions, maybe you're feeling a little more confident in things, but there's still some pieces that might frighten you, or you just want some friends in a community to hang out with and have some girl time, right? Or some guy time. If there's guys here, great, you're welcome as well. But we need a community, and sometimes I worry that this quilting community is a little bit of a dying art, if I'm going to be honest. And it makes my heart happy when I get on social media and I see younger generations getting into this, and I am just hopeful that they'll stick and that will keep going so that we can keep passing that art down. As you know, it is 100% normal, and it is great that the styles and the techniques and the different parts of quilting are changing with time. I mean, we look back and, we look at our reproduction fabrics and our Civil War fabrics and our, like the 1930s and the 40s prints and all that, and they changed. They're completely different than the styles of what a lot of maybe more modern quilters are doing now, both patterns and fabric choices. And that's okay. That's what we need. We need different perspectives and different styles and preferences. And that's why I wanted to kind of take some time to use this channel as that platform to talk a little bit about how that can vary and differ, but also giving you a little bit of confidence and reassurance that go with what you like. You don't need the opinions of other people for you to love it and to be happy with things. My styles and my tastes have changed over the years, and I'm going to do some trunk shows here and there during these videos to show you some of the things I've made in the past and kind of where some of my styles are sitting right now, and you'll see how that looks different and how that's evolved over time, and I like that. I'm happy with that. I'm glad that my styles and my preferences look different and have changed over time, and they'll continue to change. I feel like I'm getting pretty old, but I'm really still pretty, I hope I'll still be around for a while. I am still kind of young, and I'm expecting that to change over the years as well. So depending on how long we are on this channel together over the years and how much and where this takes us, you'll probably see that adjust and change for me, and that's okay. So that's kind of where my quilting journey started, was about that many years ago. My mom taught me how to sew at quite a young age. I always watched both my grandmothers, so I remember even one of my great-grandmothers watching her having the quilting frames up and tying quilts, and I was lucky enough to get to be with one of my great-grandmothers for a while before she passed, but I got to spend quite a lot of time with both of my grandmothers and learn from them and just get the expertise in that relationship with them. And we connected a lot through sewing and quilting, which I'm very appreciative of. I'm very happy I had that opportunity to do. My mom still quilts and sews as well. She's a wonderful seamstress. She's a great quilter as well. Wonderful that way, very talented. I did not get the seamstress genes like she did. I will do very little seamstress work. And for those of you that know the difference, there is a difference. But if anyone needs something hemmed or fixed, that usually goes to my mother. I'm not quite there yet. But sewing, I'm okay with applique. I like that. And I do like some handwork. And that's kind of where some of this started for me and where it's going. I'm very appreciative to have that in my heart and in my genetics and where that comes from. Maybe that gives me some more ideas for future episodes. We can share some stories and talk a little bit that way. So I just really hope you guys will find a way that there's some type of a connection here that you would love to connect with and find a reason to keep coming back. I really want to just have that community here. So please use this and comment on this YouTube video. What are some things that you're into right now? What are some things you like? What's a project you're working on right now? I actually have some plans today to do a fun little patriotic trunk show, if you will, because today, as of the day I'm recording, we're just starting into July, and I'm going to get this video up before the 4th of July, and that's why I thought this is a fun opportunity to kick things off and show you a few of my projects that I've done over the years. Because, as I mentioned, being pretty busy with life and work and my children and my husband and everything, my whips don't get finished very quickly. My work's in progress for those of you that we'll talk about some quilting and stitching jargon that way. But whips, I have a lot, and they sometimes take me some time to get through. And I have learned to accept that that's okay. It's part of the process. So if you're like me and whips don't get done very quickly, you're not alone. But I'm going to do this little trunk show today and show you some things that I currently have that I put out during my Patriotic display. And just know, though, these haven't happened just this year. Some of these are a few years old. And I'll talk about those as we go. But every episode I may or may not have some type of a project to share in some trunk show, but we'll see how that goes and where that takes us moving forward here. But I'd also like to use this as some accountability for me to keep those whips going. So let me know what you're interested in seeing and kind of what some of your projects are going that way. So let's kick things off. That's the first question I'd love to see in the comment here. What are you currently working on? What is a project that you currently have under your needle and your sewing machine, something going that way? What is something that you're doing? I will share things each episode and report back to let you know some accountability where I'm sitting. But I actually just finished up a jacket. It's a pattern that I designed that is actually not the first jacket I had done. So if you click on my social media platforms, you'll see some of that. But I'm getting ready to teach a class at what we call our Quilters Heritage Festival. And it's a local quilt opportunity that we have here that kind of three-day festival, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah, we spend more time there than that setting up and getting ready, but it's a 3-day event, and you can sign up and do classes, and we have free trunk shows and a free public quilt show. That's we call it the biggest quilt show in our valley. The biggest little quilt show, I think, is what our phrase is. But it's been a really fun opportunity to be on that committee and have that rolling. But this year's our 10 years of having that going. We're actually having our 10-year birthday celebration this year. So if that's something you'd be interested in joining, classes are filling super fast. So go to quiltersheritagefestival.com. And we also have a Facebook page, and you can go and check things out, see what's still open that you might be interested in joining. But that's coming up here in October. It will be every October. So moving forward, follow our emails and our social platforms, and you can keep in the loop for those. But I've been busy getting ready for that because I am going to be teaching 2 classes at that this year. And I'll preview that maybe the next episode or so. But that was my recent whip that's now an official finished project. I have one that I can't show right now, but is a new pattern I'm designing and getting ready. It might take me a few more weeks before it's officially ready to launch, and we'll see how long it takes me to have it actually quilted before I'd be ready for some photos, but I'm excited for that one. And then I just finished, I've been working on some other whips and some things that way, so I just love to kick things off here and show you some of my Patriotic projects. And I've got a little list here because I wanted to let you know, not just show you what it is, but also let you know who the pattern designer is and where you can find that. I love watching these types of channels and see what other people are doing and get my own inspiration to do something similar, or maybe I just haven't stumbled across something like that before, and I find that I love it and I want to make that myself. So start off with, I just wanted to show this one. So right here on the table, this one is actually, I don't know a pattern, if I'm going to be honest. We got this as a wedding gift from a family member 20 years ago. July this month, 20 years ago. Oh, we're getting old. But this is a fun one. We use this as a picnic quilt or our fireworks quilt or whatever you want to call that we have during the 4th of July. I'll hold that up and kind of show you. Very, very cute. And that hand-tied look is something I just love. It just brings back the nostalgia of quilts. And this is what reminds me of my family heritage of quilting, is patchwork like this, tied quilts, and just that cozy, you can feel that cozy batting in there. And it's just, this is quilting to me. I am leaning now more towards doing machine finishing on my quilts. But if you want to talk about nostalgia and quilting, this is it for me. And I know that's going to look different for everyone. So, but I thought this would be a fun one to start off with, just to show kind of that home style. It's a little bit more primitive fabrics. And there are some brights tied in there too, but a little bit more primitive, the piecing and that hand tying, and it's just it just reminds me of summertime and picnics, and I love this one. So that's a fun one to get started with here. The next one I wanted to show you, I will post some pictures along with this video as we go too, because unfortunately the video angle's not going to do justice and show this very well. But when I first started getting into quilting, applique was kind of big. And I know some of you say, oh no, I don't like applique. And that's okay. Some people love it, some people don't, and that's up to you. I don't like hand applique as much, which you might be surprised when I talk about another project in a little bit, but machine applique is something I've had a lot of time to practice with and a lot of time to do, and I actually don't mind it. It's kind of methodical to me to sit and just applique around my stitching that way. And I started off with one of not my first applique project, but it was a Kimberbell project. So you might be familiar with Kimberbell. And this is our Sweet Land of Liberty wall hanging. Ooh, I have a sleeve on this, so that will help me not show it upside down to you. So I'll start here and hold it up, and then like I said, I will show a photo with it too so you can see. As you can see, it's very three-dimensional. So these cute little cherries, they pop and they're three-dimensional. This one's getting a little loose. I need to tack that one down again. But these cute pinwheels are three-dimensional, and they have some cute buttons on them with that fun little America birthday cake. I love this sunflower. That was my very first try at English paper piecing, and that was so much fun. It was just the perfect small little project for me to do something like that, and I loved that. A little bit of felt on there with this cute little apple pie there, and this cute little yo-yo on top of the cupcake. That's fun. This was like a disappearing 9-patch technique that just got sewn into a strip. And as you can see, lots and lots of applique, but also just a lot of piecing, traditional piecing. And if you're still getting into quilting or learning how to do some quilting, projects like this are great. I actually really advocate for projects like a wall hanging or a pillow or a block of the month. And I especially love when designers like Kimberbell do something like this where they implement different techniques. So in this, I learned and got to practice not just my traditional piecing, but I got to do applique, and I was able to try yo-yos and English paper piecing, and I got to try some felt with that. There's even some hand stitching in here where the little pie has some little steam popping up through that. That's fun. And some hand gathering and bunching with that watermelon rind. Oh, this isn't a new pattern, but it's still so fun. I love when I get this out. It just brings back all the feels of my learning with quilting. If this is one you're not familiar with, this wall hanging is called Sweet Land of Liberty. And as I mentioned, it's by Kimberbell Designs, or Kimberbell. She does a lot with embroidery, machine embroidery too. So I know a lot of her patterns, you can also find machine embroidery options. So you're not having to hand applique or machine applique, you can do embroidery. So if you get into embroidery, by all means, I'm sure she has that option too. I do tinker a little bit with embroidery, but not enough that I'm comfortable, something like this. I do want to give credit as well on the machine quilting on this. Was a dear friend that I have, Amy, from over in a neighboring town over here. And she did a wonderful job. There's some cute little swirls and stars in here, and she did some little waves on the flag there, and down here on the bottom it says God Bless America. And oh, just so much fun. And a lot of custom quilting on this one that was just really made it pop and made it finish. So I really loved that one. All right, I'm gonna toss these off to the side for a minute here. Another one is this from Kimberbell as well. I went through a Kimberbell phase. I still love her as a designer. Haven't done as much lately, but you'll see a lot from her off and on through videos. This cute freedom pillow. So this one actually, in her pattern, also has a thing that says like "Let It Ring" on it as well. So it's freedom, let it ring. I've done both versions actually, but I actually sold the other one. At one point, I think it was a boutique, or maybe someone just bought it from me off of social media. I don't remember. So I've remade one for myself to keep, and I tend to go towards brighter fabrics, especially in the summertime. So my colorways tend to go a little bit more bright. And this was my new one, and it's a fun little size pillow. I'll put a picture up of how I display this right now, but I switch my decor up every year, just pull things out and decide how I want it to look. But I wanted to pull this one out to show you kind of just some really basic piecing around the outside, and then some cute applique there on the front. I actually went with some black thread on that R and on the O to kind of help that pop a little bit more. So if you're confident with your applique and don't mind that it shows a little more, you have that opportunity to switch things up that way too. I mentioned earlier possibly dabbling a little bit with this going into a floss tube, but I tend to stay more on quilting, but I have gotten into cross stitch as a little side hobby. And my stash is slowly growing as far as patterns and completed projects. So that is very nice to see the completed ones already. But I've got the bug with cross stitching through Primrose Cottage, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with at this point. She actually started her business around this area where I live, and she's now moved away since, but I don't think she would remember me, but I did have the opportunity to meet her a time or two when she was here. And Lindsay's just a sweetheart, and I love watching her channels as well. But she inspires me a lot, both as a creator and designer in process, kind of dabbling that way, but just helping me to keep that creative bug going myself. So I believe one of my first cross stitches that I did with hers was, it actually might have been this one over here. I don't remember that for sure now. I'd have to go back in my my photos and decide, but I think it was a Patriotic one. But I wanted to show a couple of finishes that I've had. So first of all would be her Patriotic Quaker. Hold that on the side so you can see the whole thing. So cute. I love this one. Every time I look at it, it just makes me happy. This was my first Quaker I ever finished, especially if made at all altogether. So Patriotic Quaker is the name of that one, if you're interested there. And then I also have completed the red, white, and blue quilt. That one was really fun for me. Once I could get the technique of the flower and the spacing, it was just pretty repetitive, so it was fun to do that one. It's fun to look at these. I haven't just sat and looked at them for a while. I put them on display and then I just don't think of them for a little bit and really appreciate it. So the next one I wanted to show here is the cute little 12 monthly mini. This is the July mini from Primrose as well. I love her minis. They are so fun. And if you're just getting into needlework and cross stitch, these monthly minis would actually be a great place to start. And they're easily digestible and just fun to do. It's nice, that instant gratification. I can usually stitch these up in a day or two, depending on my time spent for the rest of the day. But they're really fun. I just finished this one about a year or two ago. I remember it being on a vacation. And when I finished it, I just can't remember which year we were there and finishing that one. But I keep these in a little basket. I'll show a picture here about what those look like when they are finished and how I display them right now. I've switched that up a little over the years. So I have that one. Oh, my framed art. Let's see. From Primrose as well. This is when I was doing, I think this might have been one of my first stitches, but I don't remember for sure. But this cute Patriotic Picnic. I don't know if that's in the frame. It is not perfect, so please don't judge too much. I was learning how to do my own setting and framing and all of that. I just had some frames sitting around and decided to paint it and do it, and then obviously it didn't quite fit, so I added some extra fabric to it. And then the white was too much, so then I added some rickrack and buttons, and I like it. It might look a little busy on the photo and in the video, but on display, I'm really happy with it, and I think it looks really cute. Again, everyone has different styles, so if it's not your thing, I totally understand. But I was really happy with this one, and I love the detail she puts into her patterns. There's a cute little puppy there. The Patriotic cake. I mean, it's America's birthday. Let's celebrate, right? And some cute balloons and a quilt and the flag and the cute little dog in the wagon with the fireworks and just lots of good things. Now that I say that, this might not have been my first, but I think one of these truck patterns was one of my first stitching, which is a big one to take on for a first stitch, but I did it. Persevered. Now, really happy with the way that one turned out too. That was fun. Another one, actually, this is one of my last completed ones that I wanted to show here, is this fun table runner that was also from Primrose. She does a fun little sip and stitch box, and I think this one was like a quilt box. I don't remember how long ago it was. And if they hear this, or if any of you know, I'm so sorry, but I don't remember the name of this pattern. And I went through all my books and I cannot find the pattern for this one, but it was some cute 4th of July fabrics that were in it. So you can see that. Again, I'm so sorry I don't remember the name of the pattern, but that was a really fun and quick stitch up from Primrose, and it used some mini charms. So that was fun to have that and complete that, and it's got some cute machine quilting in there that my local long armor was able to do for me. So that kind of completes a few of the Patriotic things that I have made myself and have out. I'll pop in some photos throughout if I haven't done so already. But I'm not going to take credit for these next parts, but I did want to show some other possibilities, if you will, of ways that you can craft up. So I have a friend that has made these garlands. She actually makes them for various different seasons, and I thought they were so cute. And I just wanted to show these strips of fabric and some little beads, just on some jute string there, some ribbon incorporated in, and I think this one's about a 6 foot long one. And I use this with my decorating. You'll probably see it popping through in some photos. And I change this up once in a while, putting it in different areas as well. But this is a really fun one. I have it in a different colorway that I use for a garland on one of my Christmas trees at Christmas time. So if you have some extra fabric scraps, that's always a really fun way to use them up and get those on there too. If you're really into kind of a more primitive look, this same friend that made this cute banner for me, and I have it out on my display. But it's just some burlap cut into some bunting banner piece shapes, and then she appliques some fabric stars onto that, again with those cute beads in there. And then it's different sizing, so I can stretch it to fit whatever, wherever I'd like. But lots of different possibilities with some options on something like that. You could change the star colors up and have it at Christmas time. You could put different things on there, not just stars, for different holidays, and lots of fun ways that you can decorate and use that up. Recently I bought this. I don't know if this was handmade, and I should have reached out to her beforehand. Today's just been busy. This whole week's been a little busy for me, but I recently purchased this from a friend who does a little local farm stand out of her home. And these are just felt pieces. And again, I'm not sure if it's homemade or she's able to buy them from somewhere, but how cute is something like this? And you could make that out of fabric, even not just the felt pieces. Lots of options and possibilities for something like that one too. But I just love that one. And you can size it up for different, depending on where you want to hang it and put it. And that one made a really cute banner that way. Again, not mine. I don't even know if she handmade them or if she purchased them or had somebody make them. But I wanted to put that up there as those of you that have a DIY heart and a craft at heart like I do. That might be a fun thing to get creative and switch up a little bit. See what you want to do with that. Currently though, I have one whip that is officially Patriotic. I actually started this one yesterday. And this is the God Bless America pattern from Primrose. Again, I just purchased her recent Sip and Stitch box, so I don't want to show the pattern itself, but this is the pattern front. And this is my progress. So you can see the difference in how sizing of how that might turn out for me. I still have a little ways to go on it, but that was my stitching yesterday. I did have a lot of stitching time yesterday to do. And I don't always keep it in hoops, so I know, don't come after me, but I've been stitching a little bit this morning and plan to do so I wasn't going to take it out of the hoop because I'm working right behind it. But that is a really fun one. Not very big, and like I said, it'll be a quick one. Finish size, I can't remember exactly. I think this is a wheat. I can't remember if it was 25 or 28, but it'll finish up at about 4x7-ish, I think. Maybe 4x6. We'll see when I finish, but somewhere in there. It's a 90 by 48 on the stitch count, and I am stitching 2/2 on this one. So we'll see how that one turns out. It's been heavy. Speaking of that, I do stitch 2/2 on nearly everything. I believe I even did so on this one. Yeah. Stitched 2/2 on everything in the this little picnic one. It was on Ada cloth, and I want to say like a 16 count, maybe a 14. That was what I started stitching on those just because it's good to begin and start. So if you're thinking about starting cross stitching, I would suggest starting on the Ada cloth. Easy to see, easy to keep track of. And I still stitch 2/2 on those, so it's pretty dense on that one. But I like that it keeps things more dense, so I have stayed with the 2/2 even on these smaller counts when I switched over to these other fabrics. I like that it keeps it saturated and keeps that stitching more concentrated and dense that way. Yeah, that's a 2/2 as well. I don't know if I could go much smaller than a 28, to be honest. I think maybe this is, I don't know. I'll have to go back. I can't remember what I purchased, but My eyes are getting bad the older I get, so I'm not sure how much smaller I could go than that and keep track of it still. So I'm okay with using 2/2 on those. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting right now with some of my projects, and I just wanted to share that with you to kind of help you all see that it takes time. Don't feel like just because you don't have a lot of time to stitch, it's not worth it. Sit down and take a little time for yourself here and there, and even if it's just a couple stitches a night, or if you can sit down at your machine and do a few pieces, a few blocks here and there, it's all worth it in the end. So yeah, thanks for joining me on this first one. It felt maybe it was a little chaotic, maybe it was okay. We'll see where this takes us and where we're going to go with it. But again, I just love to hear. Let's take some time here at the end, and if you'd like to post in the comments what's something you're currently working on. We don't even have to have a goal for an end goal to finish it. The beauty is enjoying the process, not rushing through it. So I'd love to hear what your current project is, or if you currently don't have anything, what was your recent finish? I just took a few things to my long armor to get ready for the quilt show that's coming up that I mentioned, and I have a few things in the works, as well as a few things I'm have in my brain that I'd like to get out there and designed and kind of made up, and also a few other projects that maybe down the road I'll get to that there are other pattern designers. You can tell I just love supporting others, and I have some Sherry & Chelsea fabric that's been, I can see it right here, and it's just staring me down that it's ready for something, and I think I have the perfect pattern for it. I'm just trying to decide if that's what I want to use it for or not, and just lots of fun things. So thank you for taking some time to join me on this one. We'll just enjoy the process here in this channel together and enjoy where this is going to take us, and we'll see. I'd love to try to have some type of a finish to show you. Maybe next time it will only be one or two, and maybe sometime it'll just be a quick chat and it won't even be a finish, because that's where life takes us sometimes, and that's okay. But I appreciate you taking some time to join me today, and we'll just look forward to catching up next time. Thanks.